Hello, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. It's 1:02, so we're going to get started. There are a few people that will straggle in at the end, but I don't want to keep you waiting. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Susan Crawford, and I am a playground specialist with over 35 years experience. Our webinar today focuses on the tools available to help you plan your spray park or splash pad. But before we begin, I would like to go over some webinar etiquette. Please make sure your microphones are on mute. Do send in your questions using the chat feature during the presentation, but we will not answer them until the end of the presentation. You can also send in any comments or feedback throughout this session. We are recording this webinar and we'll have the final recording on the RecTech and Playworks sites shortly. Finally, please reach out to us after the presentation if you would like more insights or have further questions. The contact info will be shown at the end. So today's agenda is going to touch briefly on the history of online spray park design, because this is not new. Waterplay has been doing online spray park design for quite some time. The advantages of using the Waterplay Interactive tool, a walk through the tool, how to use it, and the many different features, question and answer session, and finally, we will end with where to find online tutorials. So a little bit about the history of interactive. It goes back to 2003. In 2003, the company that developed and hosted the Waterplay website approached the management team with an idea that would change how spray parks were being designed. They wanted to develop a tool that would allow website visitors to design their own spray parks from their office computers. The Waterplay team loved the idea, and the Park Builder was introduced to the world in 2004. The developers of the Park Builder went on to introduce Club Penguin, an online gaming and social platform that was purchased by Disney. Revisions were done to the Park Builder in 2012, and the name was changed to Waterplay Designer. Now the Waterplay Interactive is the industry's most cutting-edge digital park building tool. And to think it was born with penguins. The interactive advantage. So why use the Waterplay Interactive tool? There are many reasons. It helps communicate your message better than a line drawing or Autocad file. The community can better see what the park will look like and make any changes. You get a completed packages of images and fly-through if needed. A multitude of options and designs can be created to show the many different activities. And you can have images ready in hours as opposed to days. This is an example of a project in Barrier, British Columbia. A colleague of mine and myself sat down with the Rotary Club, the community, and some of the council from Barrier a number of years ago, and we were using Waterplay Designer at the time. So we were able to sit with the client and develop this park with all of the little amenities, showing the overspray zones, showing the interaction of the kids, all at a touch of a button. Another benefit of interactive is specific to custom projects. Interactive allows you to see what your products might look like before they are fabricated. This example is from a First Nations community in Saskatchewan. The custom teepee and baying wolves were created for the customer to see the options available for their themed spray park. This is just one of many custom pieces available through Waterplay, and even standard products can be tweaked and adjusted to the client's desires. So now I would like to introduce our guest speaker for today, Lisa Don Tremont from Waterplay. Lisa trains both staff and customers on Waterplay Interactive and has been in the industry for over 10 years. Please join me in welcoming Lisa.
Thank you, Susan. I think I just need to take control of the share screen. I just want to make sure that everybody can see my screen okay. Okay.
Yeah, Lisa, this is Susan. It looks great.
Okay, perfect. So we'll just go through a really quick walkthrough. Usually this kind of training takes about an hour, so it will be kind of a basic overview of some of the more powerful tools that you can use for your project when you're developing spray parks. And if you do need any further information, Susan at the end of the presentation will explain where you can go for some online tutorials. And also, obviously, you can contact us or your local representative anytime, and we can absolutely walk you through. So this will be the landing page that you see. It is internet-based, so you do require an internet connection, but there's no software that, it's not an application that you install on your computer or anything like that. So you do need to have an internet connection. And it is a little bit heavy if you're connected to Wi-Fi, so I'll give you some tips and tricks as well to increase the speed that that you can view and render and that kind of thing a little bit later in the presentation. So once you get to this landing page, it will always detail any changes or upgrades or additions that we've made to the system. It will automatically update as soon as you log on to the software. But if you wanted to see a list of everything that we've upgraded or changed, you can click here and it will open an internet page where you can have a look and all of the changes. So there are a few options. So if you've got multiple parks that you've worked on in the past and you want to quickly bring something up, you can either click on load park and either save to the cloud or pick it from the cloud, or you can save it locally on your computer or on your network. I do recommend that you save them in both locations, just because if you don't have access to your local network or if you're traveling like I do, it's easy to access that via the cloud, so you don't necessarily have to have the file locally saved. So that's for the load park. So what we're going to do is go into new park. This is a really great tool. It's a good walkthrough with your customer. These are important questions that should be asked in the beginning stages of development of a park, such as, how much water do you have? What is the size of the water line available? That kind of thing, because it's really going to help you navigate and select the appropriate features based on how much water is available on site. This is obviously something that's really critical when you're talking about a flow-through potable park. Not so much for water treated systems, but it is very important for flow-through. So, really good key indicators here, lots of information to gather. And if you need any clarification on what those information, what they are, or how we can help you if there's something that's confusing, don't hesitate to ask. It will require you to put in a name of a project. So if you don't know the park name or location at this point, and it's really just kind of conceptual, you can sort of enter anything in this field to go through it. Once you've done that, you just click on your check mark here in the lower right-hand corner, and it'll start to open the software where you can start to create your park. So here is where it starts to get fun. This is where we start to create the park. So we've got a couple of different ways to proceed. You do have the option to start with either a circular shape, a square shape, or if you click on this indicator here, it will bring up some pre-designed shapes that are maybe a little bit more complicated to try and manipulate once you get into the software. So you can choose from that here. You can also import Autocad. So if you've got a site plan already done up in DWG format, You just need to convert it to FBX format. We do have instructions on how to do that as well, and if you're looking for further information, we can absolutely provide. But you can actually import your layout directly from AutoCAD FBX format into the Waterplay Interactive. So for the sake of simplicity, we'll just go with a simple square. We'll say it's 20 meters by 20 meters. We recommend a 8 feet or 2.44 meter overspray. Really, it's going to be the local code that dictates how large the overspray or transition zone has to be between the wet play area and the landscaping that would be on the outside of that concrete. You know, and other important considerations are things like prevailing winds. If it's, you know, next to a body of water or a seaside or something like that, you might want to increase or decrease depending on the site conditions available. So you can modify your dimensions simply by typing in whatever dimension you want. It will automatically calculate what the overall size will be, including the overspray, so that transition zone between the wet part of the area and the surrounding landscape. And then once you've created your shape and you've selected your shape and you've modified your dimensions, you simply click on the question mark again. This is where you would select all of your collections. So this is organized in exactly the same way as our catalog. We've got it kind of separated into aesthetic pieces that match really well together within the different collections. If you're not familiar with the catalog, I suggest you go to our website and give it a download and just have a look for easy reference. But this is where you would select your aesthetic. So let's say you're working on a spray park and you want it to have a really natural aesthetic. You could go with something like grasslands. So you would just click on the grasslands line and it will automatically load those features for you. So you can see here up in the upper left-hand corner here of the screen, this is kind of where all your menu functions are going to be found. So the star here has to be selected for you to see all the features, and it's basically just a scroll along menu on the bottom. Every time you choose a collection, no matter which one, it will automatically show you the ground sprays here. So this is a selection of all the ground sprays that we offer. As well as mechanical items. So if you're looking for deck drains, water treated systems, controllers, above grade, below grade cabinets, water treated systems, all of that can be found in the mechanical tab, and that will automatically populate no matter what collection you select. If you get lost or if you're looking for something, all you would have to do is click on this question mark here, and once you click on something, it will tell you what it is. So this is your main menu here up at the top, and it'll show you this is where the features are, this is where the towers are, the activity towers with the slides. This one has everything to do with your area, your splash pad, so the concrete surface that we're looking at here. And then you've got your site amenities, backgrounds, and that kind of thing where you see the tree in the menu. So this is a really helpful tool here. So if ever you get lost or you're looking for something, always remember to find the question mark. How do I get out of here now? Okay. So the other interesting menu here is at the top, and I'll go through what you're able to download here. Typically, we don't share the pricing with people outside of Waterplay, and essentially the reason why we do that is because we like to ask to verify the layouts just to make sure that everything was accounted for. Typically, people who don't design or lay out spray parks on a daily basis tend to forget really critical parts of equipment, which can lead to, significant parts of the budget, such as the mechanical elements here, activators, controllers, even the play phase bases, so the anchoring system that we use. So we do like to verify the layouts or the quotes just to make sure that nothing got missed and that we don't have any expensive mistakes at the end of the process. So in order to start laying out your pad, it's really very simple. It's simply drag and drop. So we'll start and I'll load in some of these features here for you to see. Really very simple. I'm not going to do a nice tidy little layout here because it'll take me too long. So I really just want to kind of get some stuff out here for you. You can rotate the feature. If you're looking to find out what the flow rates are, you simply select the feature, click on the eye, and it will bring up all of the specifications. So you can see all of the flow rates in imperial and in metric. It gives you the spray area, so the area of influence of water of this particular component, and the dimension of the feature itself. So this one is 4.7 meters high from the bottom of the flange here, all the way up to the tip of this little leaf that you can see. So if ever you're looking for quick reference, you can find it here. Also at the top of the screen, you're going to see that it does count the flow rate for you here. So it does default to metric and liters. If you're in Canada, I'm better with imperial, so I usually change this to imperial measurements, just because I don't know why. I am Canadian, but I am better in imperial. So I usually change this to gallons per minute as opposed to liters per minute. It's just easier, and you can change that here. Your currency you will see here is in Canadian. And if, for example, you wanted to change the color of a component, you would again click on the eye. You can come into the paintbrush here at the bottom of the screen. And you can see this is not a good example because this is the only color that this is available in, but I'll show you in a different example here. I'll choose another collection. And if you miss that, to add another component from another collection that isn't necessarily grasslands, you just click on the little plus sign here. You should have that on every single menu. So that'll show you, you can add activity towers, you can add a second pad over on the side if you wanted to, and this is how you add all of your site amenities in your background. So I'll go over to my kaleidoscope here. I'll just put this feature on for an example, click on the eye, and then select the colors. So if they've got, you know, a rotary, if it's a rotary installation and they really want the yellow and blue color scheme, you can absolutely go in here and change the colors to fit the theme based on whatever it is that the customer is looking for. This is where you're going to find all of the activity towers in the discovery stream. I just want to, I'm sorry, I'm pulling up my timer here just so I don't lose track of everything. But we've got some pre-designed structures that you can basically just pull into your pad. If you're also designing a pool, there are pools that you can pull in that you can put these towers inside the pool just to facilitate, and it gives you a good idea of the area of influence for the feature itself as well as the spray zone. Sorry for the lag here. It is a little heavy, like I said, so it does take a couple of seconds to load. So you can see here, same principle. You're just going to drag and drop and scroll along the bottom, and then you just pull it onto your pad or wherever you want it to be located, and you can rotate it around so that it fits within your space. So we'll go back over here. I do want to show you really quickly that you can create some very nice renderings directly out of this software. I've added my background tab here, so I've just clicked on the plus sign at the top to add the background. And if you've got your neighborhood park, and if I scroll out a little bit, you can see that there's actually a road, some buildings, so you can kind of build up the background so that it looks similar to what you've got on site. If you click on this again and you want to add, we've got trees and hedges, we've got people, we've got other buildings, all kinds of seating and shade. So I'm just going to add some people onto the pad here. And then what we will do is we will create renderings. So this is a little bit tricky if It's supposed to be designed for utilization as if you were in sort of a video game on a computer. I actually have never ever played a video game on a computer, so it was a little difficult for me to navigate at first, but it does take a little bit of practice. And if there's something that you're struggling with, or if you need help creating some really nice views, overall views of the park, you can absolutely reach out to myself or your local representative, and we can help walk you through how to do this. So you can see here, this is basically, you can create as many renderings as you want. You just have to click on the little plus screen here at bottom left-hand side of the screen. And again, if you're looking for instructions on what you have to click on or how to navigate to make the 3D views, you click on your check mark and it will bring up the little legend for you here on the side of the screen. So it's very intuitive, and you can it's just with your keyboard and with your mouse, and once you get the hang of it, it does get simpler. You can see here, so these are great views as well, because you can see actually that the feature is showing the spray effect from the component. So it really helps to kind of manage the expectation in terms of what it's going to look like when it's running and what the spray effect is. So we'll just create one more rendering really quickly, top view, and I'm happy with that, so we'll go back home. And then one last thing for the visuals is that we can also create videos. So by clicking on the plus sign here, the little white sphere you see here is the camera. So that's the perspective from which the camera is looking at the spray park. And then you can do, from very simple, just a circle kind of fly around video to, I've actually seen somebody create one with one of these towers, and they had the camera actually navigate up the stairs, around the structure, down the slide, and stuff like that. So you can get pretty much as simple or as complicated as you want with this. By clicking on the little rectangles and squares, you can kind of raise the elevation of the camera. If we want to orient the camera inwards towards one of the features, you have to create a point of interest. So you drag one of these points of interest, and then you have to go like this so that the blue circle is outside the path, and that will basically orient the camera inwards. So you can see it here on the bottom of the screen. I'm just going to decrease the speed. And if I click on that image, on the camera, then you can actually see that it's going to fly around, and you'll see what the video looks like. I'm not going to render the video because it does take quite a long time to render, depending on the speed of your computer. So you might want to do it kind of at the end of your day or during your lunch hour. I would say it takes on average about, between 5 and 15 minutes, depending on the speed of your computer and your internet connection. So just make sure you don't have anything else to do for a little while it's rendering. So that's the video. The other place where you're going to find some really interesting information is in the little cog panel here. So if you go to the Documents tab here, you can see it along the left-hand side. This is where you're going to find all of the components that or all of the little, technical information, more detailed technical information that you're looking for. You can actually pull a quote. Like I said, you won't see the pricing on it, but it will actually pull a list of all the components and their quantities, which is quite helpful. You can pull a 2D layout, which is a top-down view layout, and it will give the quantity and the bill of materials as well for everything that you've included on your spray park. The 2D layout will also include the spec page for any activity towers that you've got included on your pad, on your design. And you can also pull your 3D renderings directly from here. You can also pull the spec pages, the install documents, marketing feature sheets, 2D blocks, so these are the top-down view with the area of influence for the spray zone, or the 3D files. We do kind of offer these in many different formats, so I'm going to download that and show you what we can do. And it takes just a couple of seconds for them to email the file. I mentioned earlier that there is a little bit of a trick to using this if you don't have a super fast internet connection or if you're on Wi-Fi. So if you see up here in the upper right-hand corner, you've got a few icons here. This one here activates or deactivates the spray zone. One of the biggest tips or tricks that I try to give people is that, you know, it looks pretty bare when you're looking at it like this, but then it's deceptively full when you turn on the area of influence of water. So this, if you're really standing in the park, it's a lot of empty concrete in these spaces. So this is a great area to fill it in with some ground sprays, and it's inexpensive as well. So, but this will show you exactly kind of how big you need to be in order to accommodate the features you're selecting. You can also turn on and off the water effects so that it kind of runs a little bit faster if you're on a Wi-Fi connection. So that's by clicking here. We do also have this one here, the little white circle, which indicates the ADA zone around each of the features. So that orange circle that you're seeing is basically the distance between the features. It's a minimum distance. So you can't have two anchor points within the same circle. They can be overlapping like this to be ADA compliant, but you can't go like this, and it'll give you an error message to say that these features are too close together and that they have to kind of be separated a little bit. So I will bring up my emails really quickly because I would like to show you the files that we downloaded and what format we can bring them in. Loading. So while it's loading, I will look at something else here for you. Ground sprays, I did want to show that we do have a lot of ground sprays available, but to get to all of the additional spray features, you have to click on the information tab again for the ground spray, and then you can change the water effect. Oh, I should probably turn the water back on. There we go. So if I select my ground spray and click on the eye, you've got all the different spray effects, and you can see that it changes the information based on whichever one you've selected. So it changes your flow rate, changes your area of influence, changes the water effect, so you have access to all of that here. But again, you can see that this is very quick. I did this in 25 minutes. You know, if I had time to sit and you know, talk with my customer face to face and really decide, you know, go through the collections, go through the aesthetics, and kind of lean more towards one aesthetic or the other. This is a really, really great tool to help you decide what direction you want to go. Also with the flow rates and with the aesthetic as well, if you're looking more into flow through versus recirculation. And I think, Susan, that would be it for the very basic run through. I guess we can pause here for questions if there are any.
So Lisa, before we jump, were you wanting to look at those emails that you downloaded?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, I did. So you'll get an email here, info@waterplay.com. And then you click on the link to download. Thank you for the reminder, Susan. So this is what you'll get here. So we've got the 2D models and the 3D models. So I'll click on 3D, for example. So it'll bring in all of the features we've got in our layout, including our play phase base, which is the anchor that goes underneath the concrete. And if you click on the zipped folder, these are all the formats that we offer our features in. So you can see 3D Max, 3ds, FBX, Revit, which is a big one, SketchUp. We get a lot of requests for those kinds of files. And it would be the same for the 2D blocks. I'm sorry, this is being finicky with me here. Okay, well, that's not working. So, but we do have them in a number of different formats. So if there's something specific that you're looking for and you forget where it is in interactive or anything like that, we can absolutely send them over to you as well pretty quickly. What format do you say? Sorry, I've got a question here from someone. It says, what format did you say CAD layout files had to be saved out to? It's called FBX. So F like Frank, B like brother, X like xylophone. And we can send you the instructions on how to do that yourself. It's apparently it's easy if you work in CAD. And it's really just a process where you have to bring it into FBX and actually close off the area that you want to bring in. You know, make sure all the lines are connected and everything is completely connected so that it imports properly. But we have that instruction in PDF that we can send out to you.
Okay, so Lisa, that concludes your presentation?
Pardon me?
I said, so does that conclude your part of the presentation?
It does. I was just opening it up for questions. I'm actually, Jeff QB just sent me a request to show the 2D scale drawing, so I'll show that really quickly as well. Okay. So you can see here, this is the top view layout. You can see it's a little harder to see here. I'm going to try to get in here a little closer. But you can see all of the features will appear in a top view rendered. Usually you can see them in color. It'll give you the main aquatic play area. It's hard to see on my screen, but the main aquatic play area is everything within this black line here. And then this up until the yellow line is going to be your transition zone. So you want to make sure that you're including your overspray or transition zone to make sure that none of this water gets into the surrounding landscape. It causes a lot of big muddy messes and you know, creates a lot of headache for the people who are maintaining and operating the park. So really important to consider. We recommend at least 8 feet, so 2.44 meters. Your local code may dictate that you need more of that. So if I scroll out here, you can also see we've got the bill of materials. So you can see these are the names of the features and what quantities are appearing. We've also got the dimension. So you can see this is in imperial, so it's in feet and inches. You can see the overspray zone and the actual dimensions of the park. And then on this particular one, we've got an activity tower. So it will show you the specifications of the activity tower as well and the bill of materials. So you can see what's included on the activity tower. So you've got all of the little interactives, you know, the height of the decks, you know, how many staircases, where the slides are, that kind of thing. So that's your 2D drawing. Oh, I'm sorry, I stopped my share. I think there was a couple of more things that came in on tap.
I actually have a few questions at my end, Lisa. So
okay, go ahead.
One of the questions, how do they get the program?
Basically, all they have to do is provide us with full name, email address, and phone number, and we can set them up within a matter of minutes with a username, login, and the link to download the software onto the computer. So there is, you know, a little something that you need to download on your computer. It doesn't take up a lot of space because to operate the program, it's internet-based.
Perfect. Actually, I have 3 or 4 questions here. So is there surfacing options, and how can I add surfacing to these renderings?
Oh, great question. So if you go up here in the beginning, this is all of the deliverables for your pad. So this is the surface area. So let's say, for example, I had my features selected. So you'll go over here, you'll select the area. You can see the dimensions populate, and you'll get this bar along the bottom here. So if, for example, you started out with concrete and then all of a sudden, you know, you say, oh, let's see what it's going to look like with some rubber pour-in-place surfacing. You click on your little eye, which is down right here in the bottom left-hand corner. And if you go to the main area here, you go to color. And there's a whole bunch of different materials that you can choose from. These ones along the top, you can customize the color. So if the customer wants, this is just standard concrete, but if the customer wants, you know, turquoise or teal concrete, you can change the color of it. We've also got, this is the pour-in-place rubber, so those little rubber granules. We've got some paving tiles, concrete tiles, and this is more like an EPDM style covering. But you can go ahead and modify the colors of these ones here up at the top. And then we've selected any, you know, different colors of material. These are a lot of colors that we get quite often requests when we do our renderings through our 3D artists. So these are pre-populated with those colors just to kind of make everybody's life a little easier rather than trying to fiddle with the color bars here. So let's say we wanted to do pour-in-place rubber. We'll make it a different color. When you're done selecting a color, you can click on the check mark. You can do the same thing with your overspray zone. So if I want to do the paving tiles in my overspray zone instead of just standard concrete, and then once you're done, you click check mark and it changes everything for you. So you can see here, if I go down really deeply, you can see that it does actually texturize the pad so that it looks like a pour-in-place rubber.
Perfect. Another question, can I add a background of my own site?
We are working on it. There are ways that you can work through, like Google Earth, for example, if you wanted to get a satellite view and kind of copy and paste some things for a top view to make it resemble very similarly what you've got actually on site. But you can't upload a picture, for example, and make that the background. Unfortunately, that's a limitation of the software at this time.
Okay, thank you. Can I actually use this to design, can I actually use Interactive to design my park and give it to the installer to install?
We do provide drawings. So you saw before the drawing that we provided were the top view layout. Typically, the kinds of drawings that we would provide are similar to that. We always say that our drawings are not for construction because we are not installers. They do have to be checked and locally stamped by an engineer. I'm not sure if that's something that's a requirement by code in all markets all around the world. But typically in Canada, it is probably a really good idea to engage design professionals, engineers, local people who can do soil analysis, who can really take a look and make sure that there's nothing, kind of no surprises underneath the ground. You know, if there was an old gas station at that site, for example, and the soil might be contaminated, these are things that really do need to be looked at by local professionals to be able to construct. So we do provide instructions on how to install, how to assemble all of the features. We will provide you piping and electrical drawings, but it is really important to engage local professionals very early on in the process to make sure that, again, you know, we don't have any really expensive surprises at the end of the line.
Great. Earlier you talked about the, and I don't remember which forum you were showing us, you talked about the area for the spray pad. Was that the entire area, or was the overspray zone in addition to that?
So along the bottom of the screen, you can see here in this menu, this will tell you exactly what these areas are. So it will always show you the dimensions. So this one is 49 feet wide by 82 feet long, and that is the total area. So that includes the overspray zone, the transition zone. And that total area is 3,980 square feet. So what you say here in parentheses is the total area, and this is just the wet zone. So everything that you see here in kind of that teal turquoise color is equal to 2,192 square feet. So that's the difference.
Perfect. Another question, can you add graphics?
You can. So here on this same bottom menu here, you've got two options. You can actually add patterns on the concrete as well. So if you click on the splashy symbol here, and I'll just show you a really quick example. Let's say you wanted to do kind of a strip of blue right through the center of the park. You start with any shape, and you can kind of go in here and modify the shape of what that looks like. If we had a grassland concept, something that's really popular is to create sort of a river going through the grassland park. So this can kind of replicate water. So that's one way you can add some interest to the surfacing. The other way to do that is by clicking on the little paintbrush here. You click on the plus sign. And it might be difficult to see. This is things that I have uploaded into Waterplay Interactive, so different textures that I've used. I actually did a project where it was a cruise ship essentially, so we had to create the decking, and I just Googled a PNG image with transparent background, and they sent me this, and I basically brought it right into my rendering. So you can, if you're looking for something specific that's not already in Waterplay Interactive, again, it's just a PNG format with a transparent background to bring it in. We do also have a library that you can pull from. It's a little difficult to see here, but these are some leaves that you can put on your pad. If you go here, you've got some nautical selections, a buoy, an island, a boat. And then we've got like some sea creatures, so octopus and shells and seahorse and that kind of thing. So if I go back to the leaves, I'll bring one in and I'll show you. And it is difficult. I've brought this up with our developer to see if we can kind of make it a little bit darker and easier to see. But once you bring in your graphic, if you change the color of it, you can see it more clearly now. And then you can kind of play along with these to change the color. You can, when you maintain aspect, it means do you want to look, no matter how big or how small you make this image, do you want it to look like this? If you click no, it will stretch if you try to modify the shape of this. And then clip at overspray, I'll show you what that means. So we'll click on yes for now, and I'll click on my check mark. So you can see here, this is my graphic that was brought into the pad. We did select maintain aspect. So by clicking on this little bar, the little line, you can either make it bigger or smaller. And it does either clip at the overspray, at this part here, at the overspray, or it will carry into the overspray, but it will stop obviously at the end of this part of concrete here. So yes, you can absolutely add graphics, and all you need to do is basically have a PNG with a transparent background, and you can essentially put whatever you want in here.
Perfect. So it looks like we are getting close to the end. So one last question. What type of underground tank are you using?
The underground tank for a water treated system is typically in fiberglass. We see them a lot with poured concrete. They make a concrete tank, which is a little bit more cost effective. From what I understand, it is a little bit more difficult to keep clean just because of the shape of the concrete tank. Usually it's typically square, so anything with corners, it's a little bit more difficult to clean, you know, at the beginning or the end of the season. But typically we see fiberglass tanks with a float valve inside.
Okay, so we just got one more question, Lisa. So just before we wrap up, can the surfacing graphics and the design transfer over to the CAD file?
I'm sorry, I just had a truck passing, so I've put you on mute here. Sorry, no, I don't believe that it does. And in order for us to convert this back to CAD, they're actually working on that right now. It's in development to be able to download a CAD file from this software. Right now, we can only bring it into the software. We can't download it from the software. So if you do need something to be converted to DWG, you can send it to us, and we can replicate it for you. That usually takes maybe a day or two to complete, depending on how many projects we've got going through the queue. But no, from what I understand, it's really only the pad. It's not the surfacing that's downloadable from here.
Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you, Lisa. I think we're going to have to wrap up. Just in closing, if anyone has any further interest, Waterplay has a YouTube channel for interactive. There's 23 tutorial videos. So everything from adding the graphics, uploading an existing interactive file, or adding site amenities. So you can just Google and find all of these fabulous tutorials if you have any more interest. Also, of course, we're always available to help. So if you have any specific questions or comments, please reach out to us and we will be happy to help. Thanks again, everyone, for attending today, and I look forward to talking to you soon.